Imagine standing in a room surrounded by Van Gogh's greatest works. His swirling skies, golden fields, the very chair he sat on, and the faces of those he loved and painted. What if I told you that this was all real? The National Gallery in London assembled what might be the greatest Van Gogh exhibition of all time, called Poets and Lovers. Don't worry if you missed it, because today I'm taking you inside right now. From his early hopes in the south of France, where he longed to start a painter's commune, to his haunting final days. With only one ear remaining, no money, and a trail of broken relationships and conflicts, Van Gogh painted portraits, night skies, and sunflowers. Here it is, all in one place. This is Van Gogh's own story, told the only way he knew how, through those marvelous, enchanting, and sometimes truly terrifying brushstrokes. Let's go inside. In 1888, Van Gogh dreamed of a community of artists in the south of France, in a town called Arles. He wrote letters about it, painted scenes for it, and invited his friend Paul Gauguin to join him. But before Gauguin arrived, Van Gogh painted two men. One, a soldier. One, a poet. Lieutenant Millier, in his blue uniform, was Van Gogh's drinking buddy, a man of duty and discipline. Van Gogh called him the Lover because of his well-known conquests with women, something Van Gogh had very little success with and admired very much. Millier is very handsome, almost striking, and the way Van Gogh paints him, you almost feel seduced by him yourself. Eugène Bosch, on the other hand, a painter, was Van Gogh's dreamer, his artiste. Bosch was the ideal subject because he looked like what Van Gogh believed to be the narrow-faced, pensive poet of classical times. Millier represented the world of order, romance, and flair, a world that Van Gogh longed to fit into, but never could. But Van Gogh had another vision, a place where artists and dreamers could gather. The Poet's Garden is an idealized sanctuary, bathed in golden light, but eerily empty, perhaps foreshadowing the loneliness to come. Van Gogh moved to the south of France in 1888 and saw Arles as his soon-to-be artistic paradise. He was moody, and he'd suffered already from syphilis. He had almost no money and was completely dependent on his brother for financial support. But he clung to his dream of establishing an artistic community to rival the cliques in Paris. He just needed a place to host them. This was Van Gogh's masterpiece of optimism, the Yellow House. He imagined it as a gathering place for artists, but if you look closely, there's something missing. The streets are empty, and the windows lifeless. Was this a vision of the future, or a desperate wish? Inside, he painted the bedroom, his attempt to create a sense of peace. But the warped perspective and exaggerated colors give it a restless energy. It's less a place to rest and more a reflection of his anxious mind. This is the second version that he painted, and you can normally see it by going to the Art Institute of Chicago in the United States. It's the moodier of the two versions, the more dazzling and the less direct. There's an element of both order and chaos in the strokes. You can also see a self-portrait hung and a painting of the lover, Millier, who he may have longed to be more like. Even this chair tells a story. This is an empty seat, worn, humble, and alone. Van Gogh had planned for Gauguin to sit in one there in the Yellow House also. But the friendship would soon shatter. Outside, life carried on. In the green vineyard, the grapevines stretch endlessly, a contrast to Van Gogh's own turbulent world. The brushstrokes here are quick and alive, capturing just a fleeting moment. But the undergrowth beneath the trees felt different. This tangled mass of leaves and branches suggests something more chaotic, almost suffocating, like nature closing in on itself. And then there's the night. Starry Night over the Rhone isn't just about the stars, it's about human connection. Unlike his later Starry Night, this one has two lovers walking under the glow of gaslights. Was Van Gogh longing for companionship or mourning what he never had? The stars shimmered on the river, the gaslights reflected in the water. Van Gogh once wrote, "The night is more alive and more richly colored than the day." But for him, night was also a time of solitude. This Starry Night can normally be seen in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. It's startlingly beautiful and worth it to see alone. The more famous Starry Night that he painted from a mental asylum just a short while later can be seen as the prized possession of the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Be sure to check out my videos about MoMA as well. So was it peace that he found here in the south of France? Or was it a desperate attempt to create the life he longed for? Van Gogh was slipping into loneliness even as he painted the night sky outside his door. Van Gogh had many turbulent nights himself. After a fight with Paul Gauguin, whom he had convinced to join him in the Yellow House, Van Gogh slashed off his own ear, perhaps entirely, and delivered it to a woman in a brothel that he and Gauguin had often frequented. This breakdown was one he would never really recover from. He was hospitalized and eventually sent away from Arles to the nearby town of Saint-Rémy-de-Provence, where he stayed in a relatively posh monastery turned asylum, where he was finally allowed to roam and paint the nearby fields and people. He painted the walls, the gardens, even the wheat fields just outside his window. Art was his escape, his therapy. This painting captures the hospital's gardens, a space that Van Gogh walked through daily. The swirling, almost feverish brushstrokes suggest a restless energy, as if even nature itself couldn't stay still, but the walls of the asylum remain firm, trapping him inside. During this time, he painted one of the most intense self-portraits. The contrast between his bright blue eyes and the turbulent brushstrokes surrounding his face reveals a deep tension. His expression is one of defiance, perhaps an attempt to prove both to himself and to the world that he was still in control. With a weathered expression, he stares at us as if he were asking, "Do you see me? Do you understand me?" He's tired, fragile, but determined. This is the face of a man fighting for life with his paintbrush. From his small window, he could see the town of Arles in the distance. View of Arles is painted with broad, open brush strokes, as if Van Gogh were reaching for something he could no longer touch. The town, which had once been his place of hope and creativity, was now just a memory. During this period, Van Gogh also turned to painting the people around him. Portrait of a Peasant is one of the most striking examples. Here he portrays Patience Escalier, a humble farmer, with the intensity and dignity usually reserved for noblemen or scholars in classical paintings. His deep-set eyes and sun-weathered face speak of a hard, relentless life, one that Van Gogh deeply respected. Where most people saw just peasants, Van Gogh saw kings. Even in confinement, Van Gogh managed to find beauty. This painting's normally housed in the Getty Center Museum in Los Angeles, California, a testament to surviving beauty in the face of world-changing fires. Here, the iris, a single flower bending away from the others, feels almost symbolic. Was Van Gogh painting himself, even when he painted a group of irises? Few paintings are as instantly recognizable as sunflowers. Van Gogh painted them not just once, but several times. Being from the north, Holland, Van Gogh was mesmerized by these flowers that bloomed and blossomed in the warm sun of southern France. His world of dismal gray was now replaced by splashes of sky, sea, and sparkling sunlight. The sunflower was the symbol of all of this for him. The version at the National Gallery is warm and inviting, bursting with golden hues, while the other version, the Philadelphia version, has a slightly darker, more subdued palette. These were meant as decorations for Gauguin's arrival, a sign of friendship and artistic collaboration. But instead, they became a symbol of something else: Van Gogh's search for light in a world that often felt very dark. La Berceuse is one of his most overlooked masterpieces. The woman in the portrait is Augustine Rouland, the wife of his close friend, the postman Joseph Rouland. Van Gogh saw her as a symbol of comfort, a mother rocking a child to sleep, hence the title, which means in English, the lullaby. He even imagined printing copies of this painting to hang in the homes of sailors, believing that the image of a strong, nurturing woman could offer them peace in their travels. From our vantage point, we can see that he was longing for that peace as well. In Landscape with the Plowman, Van Gogh returns to one of his favorite themes, the laborer. Remember that Van Gogh had been inspired to paint by artists like Millet, who used art as a tool to raise awareness for social change. This farmer, lost in the vast golden fields, seems almost swallowed up by the landscape, yet there's a deep reverence in the way Van Gogh paints him, as if through his work this simple peasant is somehow connected and rooted into the earth itself. Then there's the mountains at Saint-Remy, one of his most dynamic landscapes. The hills undulate and twist, painted with bold, rhythmic strokes that give the scene this movement. The sky above feels electric, as if the very air is alive. It's a landscape not of observation, but of feeling. That's what's happening. And Impressionism and Post-Impressionism, which was what we have here with Van Gogh, he wasn't just painting what he saw, he's painting what he felt. In contrast, Enclosed Field with the Peasant is quieter and, some say, almost claustrophobic. The fencing in the foreground gives a sense of entrapment, a reflection of Van Gogh's own situation inside the asylum, where he'd return every night from the fields. The solitary figures working the land, almost lost in the composition, dwarfed by the world, the fields around him. Then there's Wheat Field Behind St. Paul Hospital, a painting filled with swirling energy. The golden wheat seems to bend and sway as if caught by the wind, while the cypress trees stand like guardians of the field. This is nature in motion, alive with the same intensity that Van Gogh brought to his most famous works. And here we have one of them, a wheat field with cypresses, one of Van Gogh's finest landscapes. There's one in the Met in New York and another one here in the National Gallery, both amazing. The bright, almost fiery wheat, the spiraling clouds, and the dramatic cypress trees create a scene that's both peaceful and restless at the same time. The cypress trees, often associated with death and eternity, were a recurring motif in his final works. Perhaps he saw in them a sense of permanence that he himself never felt. And then there were the olive trees, those givers of life. Van Gogh painted them over and over again, fascinated by their gnarled trunks and twisting branches. Olive trees from the Nelson Atkins Museum in Kansas City, Missouri, is a riot of color. Blue shadows, golden fields, and trees painted with quick, vibrant strokes. But in Olive Grove with Two Olive Pickers, the mood shifts. The figures are almost consumed by the trees, blending into the landscape itself. Perhaps Van Gogh saw himself this way. A small figure in an overwhelming world seems to be a very recurring theme, and one that we can relate to today. And now these paintings stand here together, telling the story of a man who never saw his own genius. Each brushstroke is a reflection of his internal mind, at times bursting with joy like all of us, and at other times spiraling into complete chaos. Van Gogh lived in struggle, but he left us with visions of beauty, light, and life itself. If you could stand before one of these masterpieces, which one would it be? Let me know in the comment section. It's been so much fun being here with you today and describing these pieces that I got to experience and love. If you love art history, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest masterpieces. You can check out the top 10 works at the Met in New York, the top 10 at MoMA as well. So that's it for today. I'm Toby Nomad. See you in the next museum.